The year is 2007, and Thomas and Friends' 11th season would start. The TV series was brought into high definition, Hit Entertainment would take over the motor line, and a bunch of characters would be introduced. 3 of which were surprisingly fan favorites, which was quite rare during the Hit Entertainment run. However, there was one character that basically nobody likes. Silly Billy, first and last appearing in Don't Be Silly Billy, and pretty much leaving no impact on the Thomas franchise, unless you count fans who call him the worst character ever as a huge impact. Well, I guess in fan culture, but within the show's history, no, not at all. And with the new 2026 series seeming to return a lot of characters from throughout the franchise, I figured, why not play devil's advocate and tell you why Billy should return? And if you're new to this channel, this isn't the first time I've said this about a bad character. So quickly, let's look back at Billy's first episode. So Billy is introduced and Thomas has to supervise him as he does jobs. Unfortunately, Billy doesn't do them very well, and really that's kind of the whole thesis. Billy sucks at doing his jobs, he breaks down, then him and Thomas do them. But let's not forget, Billy says his famous catchphrase the whole time.
Stop telling me what to do. You are a very bossy engine.
He says it a lot in the episode. So you're probably thinking from that description, the reason that Billy sucks is because he's annoying, and that definitely plays a big factor. However, let's go all the way back to the beginning of the show and look at Thomas's story. Back in the early days of the show, Thomas was young, full of himself, and honestly quite mean to the people around him. So if it worked for Thomas and ended up making him a likable character to the point where he's like one of the most popular children's characters, why isn't Billy likable? Well, it's all about execution. You see, Thomas was full of himself and pretty rude to others.
Rubbish, said Thomas. You're too fat, you need exercise.
But he also couldn't really get a win at the time. The whole world would beat down on him, whether it be Gordon pulling a trick on him, or the troublesome trucks messing with him. Thomas just wasn't able to get a victory. It wasn't until he put that stuff aside, he'd get victories. It also helps that he had authority figures that would beat down on him, characters like Gordon or Sir Topham Hatt, to make sure he was in place. And that's kind of the thing. Billy doesn't really have an authority figure to tell him what to do. Like, Thomas is just completely spineless in Billy's episode. He is trying to guide him a little bit, but he's not really loud about it. Billy is getting away with all this stuff and nobody's really beating down on him for it. This was honestly a really consistent problem with Hit Entertainment's run. Characters would do really bad things but get little to no consequences for it. People complain that Topham was too mean in Lost Treasure, but honestly I find this just as, if not more, annoying. But really, just the whole crux of Don't Be Silly Billy is that he's being annoying, not getting his jobs done. He breaks down, and then he's helped and everything's all good. Like, he really doesn't have a story about overcoming his own ego or realizing he can't do everything he wants to. And that's basically the whole reason why this episode, and Billy as a whole, just failed. But here's the thing, even though this episode really isn't all that good, I don't think Billy couldn't have worked. If anything, I think you could have still told his story. So let me tell you some ideas I had for stories with Billy that I think could have made him a much better character. One idea I had is maybe giving Billy anger issues. He has a temper that's uncontrollable. You could interpret his main episode having this, but I don't really think that was the intention. So here, I thought this would be a good idea to keep him distinct from the other young engines who mess up in this series. With the crux of his stories being him needing to get over his anger to actually get his jobs done, and then he needs to learn to calm down and take a chill pill. So let's say Billy's first episode is a bit similar to his actual debut. He's in Brendam Docks, and maybe he's trying to shunt some troublesome trucks, but they're giving him a hard time. Maybe you could have one of the big engines like Gordon there, and he's just laughing at Billy, and this gets Billy frustrated, and he causes a big accident, and he moves on to try to do something else. You could then have him get into squabbles with someone like James. Maybe this gets to Sir Topham Hatt and he tries punishing Billy, thinking he's not a good fit for his railway. You could have him in the sheds being mad, feeling like nobody understands him. And then Thomas arrives, and he sees Billy complaining about how nothing is fair to him, and maybe he has a good laugh being like, oh, I remember when I was like that. This could really lead to Thomas trying to sit down and talk to Billy, something no one else has really done, more just making fun of and complaining to him, and trying to see what the root of Billy's problems are. This could then have Thomas maybe try to ease him into working more. Then he could bring Billy to his branch line to try to ease him into doing work more with passengers and trucks, try to get him calm, show him the beauty of Sodor, and how the workflow goes in a unique way. Billy can become more efficient the next time Topham sees him, and I think it could just be a good message on how not everybody can handle things the same way, and that certain people need to be talked to differently to have cooperation and proper work skills. I think it could be a really good way to reintroduce Billy while keeping his more obnoxious fundamentals intact. And now with the main framework with his personality, you can try pairing him up with characters, like maybe Bill and Ben for example. The two love to play tricks on others, however, what if that other person was someone that'd get mad about it? Somebody who just couldn't get the joke and is completely irritated seeing Bill and Ben. You could have Bill and Ben push further and further because they find Billy being annoyed funny, and this is just making Billy mad. And you can make it about them realizing when they have to hold back. Or you could have it be about Billy trying to take a joke instead of being irritated with the world around him all the time. I feel like either of these approaches could be fun. Heck, both could be episodes if done right. You could also try pairing him with Toby, a character who's calm, relaxed, and lives in his own world. I feel he'd be a fun character to pair with an agitated Billy. We all know how much Toby likes to make fun of the young, so it'd be really funny to see how he'd interact with Billy messing up all the time. And he could also be helpful in trying to make Billy more calm. I also think Duck could be a fun character to pair with Billy, someone who's so obsessed with the Great Western Way, and Billy would obviously be obsessed with his own way. Seeing the two clash could be really funny. The stickler for the rules versus the person who wants to do it on his own. I mean, sure, the Thomas way already did something similar, but I feel like you could do something unique with Billy's more agitated personality. And across his episodes, not only could you have Billy mellow out more, but you can also have the others learn that they have to approach Billy in different ways because of who he is, as they can try to understand him better, as opposed to just making fun of him because he's the irritated guy who can't get anything done. And I feel like if this was all done right, Billy could become a pretty likable character to the community. I just feel like there's a lot of potential with this character that was really untapped, and I'd love to see him get a second shot. You know, if Boko or Stepney can come back, I don't see why we can't give Billy a second shot, am I right, guys? Right? Obviously, though, I'm not a writer. These are just ideas I had when thinking about how Billy could return. And tell me what you all think of these ideas. Do you think I was cooking here? Or do you just think Billy's unredeemable? Tell me in the comments below either way, because, you know, that's engagement and that's always gonna help. But yeah, thank you all for watching the video. I really appreciate it. Also, are there any other bad characters you'd want to see come back in the series? Tell me in the comments below. I'd love to hear what you gotta say. Until next time, see you all later.